Here we go.
Do it.
Okay, cool.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Coffin Talkin', where we unravel the mysteries, embrace the peculiar, and find humor in the unconventional world of funerals and death. It is October, and I'm here with Frank.
Hi, Holly.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I guess that was weird. I'm just going to remind our coffiners at the beginning that all of October, if you didn't tune into Bedtime Stories #1, all of October will be featured stories straight from the creative mind of Frank.
Dang it, you had to put creative in there. Darn it. Sorry, cut this episode. I got to think of another story.
Yeah, we're holding you to a high standard.
Fantastic.
Creative.
Do it. Let's do it.
Okay, well, my week was good.
Good.
I have one update, and I don't know how you're going to feel about this. I think you're going to be fine, but the rest of our family will be like, what the cuss?
What?
Yeah.
Why? What happened?
Let me just tell you. Okay. So this goes against the way that I was raised.
Okay.
But this week, I have really been into country music.
Really?
Yes.
Any particular artist?
No, so here's what happened is we watched Twisters like 3 or 4, like a month ago now.
Milton Bradley has a hot one. It's a twister. Is that
It's a twister. No.
Okay.
No, that didn't make the album.
Oh, okay. All right. Fantastic. Good. All right, go for it.
I was driving home from work one day and I was like, oh, I'm just sick of all my music. And then I thought, you know what I want to listen to is a country song. And since that day, I've been hooked.
Wow. Well, good for you. I mean, no. What the?
Yeah, I feel like you were always the most pro country.
I did like country for a long time. It was a stint in my life. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not so much into music anymore. At all.
That?
I have no idea. No. I do like occasionally when I'm embalming and stuff to sit and listen to acapella music.
Oh, you like acapella? I
do like acapella, but my kids do not. And one in particular always makes fun of me whenever he says, just put some music on and I put on acapella, he immediately will change it.
Scott.
That's correct.
Scott likes acapella music.
Whatever, that's fine. Okay, do whatever you want to do. I don't care.
Wow, what a hypocrite. Just kidding, Scott.
He does like acapella music, but I don't understand why he doesn't like to hear it professionally done. So
I know, and it's all really good.
Yeah.
But acapella music is peak at Christmas time. Like the Pentatonics Christmas albums. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
That gets me so excited for Christmas.
They're one of my favorites. Vocal Point's another.
Yeah.
Home Free. If you ever want to listen to country music acapella, Holly, listen to Home Free.
Oh my gosh. Acapella country music.
Mm-hmm. Same with Street Corner Symphony, something like that. I can't remember the exact name of it, but they do a lot of their genre is country.
Okay. I think I've really liked it because I've started practicing violin again.
Yes.
And I just love fiddling. It's so fun.
So it's kind of like me and really enjoying the mariachis because I picked up the accordion.
The accordion. Exactly. You're exactly right. You get it.
I knew that it would be. I knew I could bring this conversation full circle.
How can I get this back to the accordion?
Oh my gosh.
Well, how was your week? That's my only update.
Well, my week was fine. It's turned out to have a couple of crazy things towards the end, and you've seen pictures of some of the crazy things at the end, but
Typical, and think in your mind, typical creepy Frank, crazy things.
And maybe we'll get into that a little later, but I have to first of all break the ice with other people. So it's been good. It's been kind of slower than what I want, but still busy. So it's enough to keep not overly busy and not boringly slow.
Right.
So yeah, it's good. It's at a steady pace.
That's good. That seems like it's the sweet spot.
Mm-hmm. Nothing major. I did get a email or a text from a friend, and I'm going to show you the picture. I'll have to send you the picture, but she said interested, and in the picture are 3 kittens.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Dad. Okay.
And you know what? They're all black, excepting for one has a white nose.
Oh.
I had to send you the photo.
Gosh.
Where's my phone?
Time.
No, we won't get another pet. I just know
Why?
Holly.
But cats are different. You love cats. Think of Fred. Fred loves cats.
Think of Fred. Yeah, because Fred will be around to take care of it. Think of Fred. You love cats. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Okay, no, I've been talking to Mom, and Mom has gotten to the point where she sent me a message this week and said, Holly, all jokes aside, do not get me a kitten for Christmas. Because I've joked so many times of like, Mom, I'm getting you a cat for Christmas. I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. And it's still up in the air. It still might happen. But I've been sending her steady streams of cat videos on Instagram to kind of soften her heart towards cats. I think that it would be the perfect addition. We all know Shorty was raised by cats, so he would feel perfectly at home.
You know what? I think he would be. I think he would feel. It might even relax him a little bit in the evenings if he knew there was a cat in the house. Where's that cat?
Where's the cat? Yeah. Especially because whenever, I don't know if this has changed since I've been in the house, but whenever I used to take Shorty on walks, he would bark and bark at the dogs, but he would get so excited when he saw a cat. And he wouldn't even really bark at them. He'd just want to go up to them.
Yeah, he likes to sit in the driveway and wait for them to come to him. Yeah, I think that's one of the things. That's why I think that he was. You're looking at the picture.
Yes,
I think that's one of the
cute.
One of the reasons why he likes to just go by this one house in the evening because the cats are out.
Yeah, he loves cats. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh!
Are you in love now with another cat? Hold it. Possibly. Well, then maybe that. Next time you hear the term possibly, maybe that'll be the name.
Yeah. I have a cat named Maybe. You will have a cat named Possibly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then one day, maybe we'll get Scott a cat named Definitely or something.
You know what's sad is that people that know me will probably bring in a basket a cat to the door.
Yeah, they would.
Don't do it, coffiners. Don't do it.
Do it, please.
No, don't do it. No.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna have a cat at one point.
But they are cute kittens.
They're so cute, and they're not even that hard.
They look disoriented here in this photo. Well, what are we doing in this basket?
What's happening?
And where's Mom?
Where's Mom?
Oh boy.
Oh my gosh. I keep telling Mom the cat distribution system is going to choose you, and this is just one more step. At this point, it's your choice. But next time, a cat is just going to be crying on your front doorstep, and you won't have the heart to turn it away. And that's how it's going to happen.
So, when Lisa's sister was here this past weekend, she... the cat that is kind of harboring it in our backyard.
Exactly.
One, right? It jumped up on a gate, jumped on a fence, and of course, she went ballistic. Get off the fence! Get out of the yard! She was yelling at the cat.
She was just yelling at the cat? Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
It made me smile. Oh man, do you know who you are, KW? Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, that's funny.
She draws hard lines.
That's right.
She has high
It's funny because I just said to FL, I said, "Look, there's your cat.
There's your cat." I keep telling Mom, if it's living in your backyard, it's yours.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Holly,
Yeah,
that's it. You just keep it going. So she doesn't need a cat for Christmas. No, we're good.
I'll win you over.
Okay, right, whatever.
One day you'll have a cat and you'll be so grateful. Aren't you glad that we got Shorty and Tootsie?
Holly, we got them for you.
I know.
And yet we're raising the dog.
Okay.
Or ushering him into
raising.
Yeah, or ushering him into
sleeping. Death. Yeah. He just sleeps now and goes on walks when he wakes up.
Gets excited to go, but goes.
But isn't it so fun coming home and saying, "Shorty, Shorty"? Probably.
Possibly.
I'm taking it one step further.
Okay.
Okay, well, enough of this.
You think? Because Mom will hear this and say, "Gosh darn it, they've spent 10 minutes talking about cats."
I know. I can't help it. I've been converted.
I can't help it.
I can't.
No, cat.
I can't help it. I've been cat-verted.
Oh boy, enough of the cat jokes.
Okay, yeah, that's enough of that.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's get spooky.
Let's do it. And so you'll notice... Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh. Well, let's be frank. And let's be frank.
Thank you, Holly. So you'll notice in my background here, it's kind of dark. It's dim lit. And so that kind of helps me get into the mode, kind of into the spirit, so to speak, of this story that I want to tell today. So this revolves around four friends who have been friends since fourth grade. And there's Jeff, there's Jim, there's Carolyn, and then there's Shelley. All four of them have known each other since fourth grade. They're now freshmen in college and have always, throughout their lives, found time to actually do just little pranks, fun little things. And, well, at least what they considered fun. On one particular evening, they decided that they would go ahead and chase trains. So they went on, were waiting in a field and were waiting for a train to come down the track so that they could go ahead and do what they wanted to do, chase. And so the train approached and they started in their gallop and their run alongside the tracks to see how long they could keep up with the train. And eventually it's all stopped and everything was all fine and good. And they just kind of stopped running. The train continued on. Jeff thought that it would be fun to try and get onto the train itself, but Shelley and Carolyn said, no, we're not going to do that. That's too dangerous. So in their walk home, back to wherever they were going to go eat for the restaurant after their gathering of the day, and then kind of just remembering everything that they were actually doing throughout the day, they kind of started laughing and joking. Jim did something that he never really does, and that was he tripped Jeff. So he tripped Jeff. And in this field, Jeff fell onto his face and just started kind of laughing. But as he put his hands into the ground to kind of present himself or bring himself up to his feet, he felt something odd in the dirt. It wasn't a rock because it was smooth. And so he said, "Hey, you guys, bring the flashlight over. I want to see what's on the ground here." So the other three came over. Only two others had a flashlight. There were only 3 flashlights in the group. Sound familiar? So they went on ahead and they started polishing the ground. And sure enough, there was something that was stuck in the ground. And it was kind of wooden, but on the backside it had a couple of wheels. And they were thinking, I wonder what this is. And so they went on ahead and lifted it up just a little bit. The wheels immediately broke off. And they lifted it up and they saw a board that had a sun, a moon, and some stars. And it had the letters A, B, C, D all the way through the alphabet to Z, all the numbers 1 through 9 and 0. And then a yes at the top, a no at the top. And then underneath said hello and goodbye. So the board, we get is a rectangular board and it's polished off really nice. And Jim immediately recognized it as a talking board. Now, a talking board is something that you and I might also consider a witch board or a Ouija board. And so they decided to pick it up. Right. So they decided to pick it up and they said, oh my gosh, this is going to add to our events and activities for the evening and into tomorrow. It'll be fun. This will be great. And so Jeff knew that Jeff knew that through the Ouija board, that the Ouija board was not always meant. I guess Caroline and Shelley were a little apprehensive about the Ouija board itself. And he said, you know what, you need to just calm down because Ouija is kind of taken from the Egyptian language. And Ouija actually means good luck.
Yeah, right, Jeff. You don't know what it means.
So Caroline and Shelley were kind of set at ease with that. And they went on ahead and they decided they would go to their dinner. They had their dinner. And in this parking lot, it just to the side of the building, because they walked to the restaurant, to the side of the building, they just leaned this board up against the wall. And Jeff, throughout the conversation, was talking and laughing about the events of the day and what had actually taken place. But Jim said something very interesting to Shelley and to Caroline. He says, what are we going to ask the board? What should we ask the board? Because, if it's a talking board or a witch board, don't you have some questions that you want to have answered? And so they were openly talking about it and everything. And Jeff said something interesting. He said, hey, we don't have a planchet. Now, a planchet is like a heart-shaped piece of wood that would run over the wiki or the witch board or the talking board and allow people to get responses from their questions. And they said, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? I guess the board is broken. We can't use it. And so that was kind of put to the side because now they had this talking board, and they went on ahead and they said, okay, so since we can't use the planchet, I guess we might as well just take it home. Maybe we'll find one. Maybe we can buy one. And it's interesting, the history of the Ouija board was actually through Hasbro, and it became a game. And so they thought, well, surely we can go to the store tomorrow. We'll buy a planchet or another Ouija board, and we'll use their planchet on this board. And they were all in agreement. Okay, that sounds great. That's what we're going to do. So after dinner, they walked around the corner, picked up the board, and walked home, or to where they were staying. And they were all staying together in some home that they had decided to rent out in the area that they were in. So the evening started to progress, and as the night fell, individuals were starting to get sleepy and thinking, oh man, I'm going to get tired. And it's been a fun day, exciting. And, the adrenaline finally breaks way and you give way to sleep. So they slept through the evening. The next morning, there's a knock on the door. It's a UPS driver, and the UPS driver comes in. They open the door, and the UPS driver says, hey, this is a package for Jeff. And then he gives the last name. And Jeff goes, what? Why am I getting a package? I'm only here for a couple of days. Why am I all of a sudden getting a package?
Yeah.
So he picks up the package and he walks into the house and just sits it on the table. They all have breakfast and they're sitting there talking. And Jim looks over and says, hey, you got a package. Who's the package for? And Jeff said it's addressed to me. And he says, well, let's open it. Let's see what's in the package. So they open it up, and guess what's in the package?
A planchet?
A planchet. A planchet. And everyone is just amazed. They're now thinking, and the interesting thing is that the planchet is stained to the same color as the board that they had found.
Oh, no, thank you. Burn it. Burn it.
So now they're thinking, is this the planchet to the board? And how did we get the planchet? Or how did whoever knew, because there was no return address, who knew to send us a planchet?
Mm.
Well, that was the discussion for the next 45 to 50 minutes. And then the activities of the day began. So they went to a local flea shop market, and they bought clothes that they thought would be kind of fun to bring back the old style of when the planchet and this talking board may have been designed and made. So they're all in their old attire, top hats, scarves, shawls, pocket, what do they call those? Suspenders. Mm-hmm. And Jeff even bought a bow tie. And so here he is in his bow tie. And then, okay, we're all ready for the night. Let's go ahead and let's do this. Let's do this thing. Let's do this talking board. So before they began, they decided on some common rules. So number one would be that everyone in attendance to this um, opportunity to ask the board something had to have at least one hand on the planchette.
Mm-hmm.
So they all in agreement to that. The next thing is that once a question was asked, no other questions would be able to come forward before that question is answered, if at all. So they took and drew straws, and Carolyn was the first to be able to ask the question. Then Jim, then Shelley, then finally Jeff. So with a great deal of trepidation, the girls put forth their hands and they placed their hands on the planchette. The guys placed their hands. Now, they couldn't have their hands on top of one another. They had to have their hands on the planchette.
Mm-hmm.
So Carolyn's first question was, now Carolyn had kind of a sorted background, and even her friends knew about her background, but not all of her background. And the question, and they decided that they could either do yes or no questions, which again, remember the board has yes or no. It has all of the letters of the alphabet, the numbers 1 through 9 plus 0, and then the sun, the moon, the stars, and then hello, goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
So Carolyn, everyone puts their hands on the planchette, and they start discussing about them amongst themselves. Oh yeah, they're talking about what questions they want to, what they want to ask. And Carolyn is still thinking about it when all their hands start moving, when this planchette starts moving. And Jeff says, who's moving the planchette? And the planchette goes up to A, and then drops to S, and then up to K. And okay, who's playing the game? So now we know that, okay, just ask. So Carolyn does this. She looks at everybody and she says, will I ever be wealthy? So, and all of a sudden it just went, without hesitation, it went straight up to no.
Yikes, and Carolyn.
Wow, Carolyn. And everyone just started laughing because, well, and then Carolyn said, okay, who pushed the planchette to no? And everyone was just kind of, well, just move there. And then, yeah, okay. So they broke their ability to hold the planchette, and they said, this is silly. That's what Carolyn said. She said, this is silly. Shelley said, I'm with Carolyn. I don't really want to do this anymore. Jim and Jeff kind of looked at each other and said, well, if we got to know if it's true or not, let's ask another question. And so they convinced Jim, or Jim convinces the rest of them to put their hands back on the planchette because he had a question he had to ask. And the question that Jim asked is, he says, okay, where do people go when they die? And it just started to go up to C, then dropped to A, went to R, and then it was too freaky for the girls, and they had to break the grip. So someone's moving this planchette. Someone's doing something that's making this planchette to where it's moving, and we aren't. You're forcing the planchette to move. It's not just moving up. And so Jim said, well, hold on just a second. We got the letters C-A-R. What could that be? So cars. Where do people go when they cars? Where do people go when they die? And so Jim was just now thinking on the C-A-R side. And Shelley says, well, I guess I could ask my question. And so they put their hands back on the planchette, and her question is, well, could you tell me, please, what's going to happen to me this evening? And so, is it good or bad? And
what's
so,
crap,
yeah. So Shelley's kind of thinking a long term, and so it immediately goes to B, then A, and she removes her hand because she knows immediately that it's good or bad, right? That was the question. Mm-hmm. Now, bad is going to be the answer. So she didn't want to see that. She didn't want to see it completed. And Jeff, on the other hand, said, well, I'm going to go ahead and just we're not going to do this anymore tonight, because everyone started to feel really odd and awkward about what was happening. The environment in the room had changed. They were no longer jovial. They began to look at each other as enemies and began to yell at one another. It just wasn't the same environment as it was when they first started. And Jeff noticed that, and he said, okay, I'm not going to do this at all. So the interesting thing was, as people started to decide to go for a walk and be wherever they wanted to be, whatever they wanted to do, that's what was happening. People were standing up and leaving and just saying, oh, I got to get out of here, got to get out of here. And Shelley, or Caroline, when she had started with the CAR, she had walked out into the out of the house and was sitting there just on the steps, wanting to know what was, kind of thinking about the CAR and kind of wondering what was happening. And she decided to get up and just stretch her legs a little bit. And as she was stretching her legs, she looks out across the way and sees a cat. And she says to herself, well, hold it. Was it a cat or was it a car? And so she sees the cat that's starting to walk into the street, and she notices there's a car coming down the road. And so she runs as fast as she can to stop the cat from getting into the street. She gets to the cat just in enough time, couldn't bend over and pick the cat up, but she extends her legs and kicks the cat.
Oh my god!
So the cat is thrown across the road, allowing the cat to survive, but the car clips Kellen's leg.
Oh,
and
gosh.
She breaks the leg. And they end up running out. Her friends hear what has, commotion. The car stops, brakes, and slams on the brakes, but then drives off because they recognize that they've hit somebody.
Yeah.
So, of course, they drive off. But the friends in the house heard the noise and run out and see Carolyn laying on the side of the road with her leg badly mangled. Now remember, they were off in the country where they had easy access to trains, open fields, and so there wasn't an easy access to the hospital immediately. So what they did is they took Caroline into the house, and as they were going into the house, Shelley felt something extremely painful along her back, and then it came down her arm, and as she was looking at it, it was like someone was just actually taking their fingers and just running them straight down her arm. So deep was that scratch or the cut, that it became a scratch and started to bleed. And so she looked down, she sees this scratch coming down her arm, and she realized that it was also what she was feeling on her back. So something was actually, without being around a tree, without being around a bush, she could actually feel the impressions of something going down her back and then moving down her right arm. And as she looked down at her arm, she could actually see scratch marks happening on her arm without any visible look as far as anything making the scratch itself. They were just being scratched in her arm. Now, Jim, he immediately started to panic and freak. And he said, oh my gosh, it's the Ouija board. It's the talking board. Something's wrong with the board. We've done something that's caused a spirit to break free and is now wreaking havoc on all of us here because we actually have the board. So he, in his short-mindedness, decided that he would do something that was completely, once everyone got into the house, he decided that he would do something that he should not have done. And that was that he took a saw and he cut the board.
Oh.
He cut the board right in half. And the planchet was off to the side. And he said, surely the planchet can't do anything by itself, nor could the board. So one without the other doesn't make the whole. So we're safe now. We're going to be okay. But Jim didn't stop with just one cut. He cut it 4 times. So he cut it into 4 equal squares. And then he just stacked the board off to the corner of the side of the room. Started to do whatever they needed to do with Caroline and with getting her to the hospital for some additional treatment on her leg. And while she was there, Shelley decided she would have her arm looked at and also her back. Because she could feel, it's not sweat, she could feel that she was actually bleeding on the backside of her, on her back. And they had noticed that there was some blood seepage through the clothing. So they got them to the hospital and were taking care of them and everything. And Jim is just white as a ghost, not really realizing what is happening or what's going on. Jeff, is thinking about the entire evening, and he's trying to calm Jim down. He's trying to bring him back to reality, let the blood come back into his face so they can recognize what's happening, and that it's just a coincidence that things are happening the way they are. So the night goes on. They spend the night in the hospital, all friends spending the night in the hospital, taking care of one another, and then they make their way back their final day, make their way back to the house. They have one night left in the house, and the thing that everyone noticed when they first walked into the house was that the board was gone. So they wondered, well, where's the board? Who would have had access to the house? Who took the board? Where's the board? The planchette is still there, but the board is gone. So they went on and they tried to have a nice, calm, quiet evening. And the individual that cut the board, Jim, now he's freaking out. He's panicked. After dinner, he just says, oh my gosh, they're coming for me. They're coming for me next. They're coming for me because I destroyed the board. And so I know that there's someone here in this house right now that's waiting just for the opportune moment to bring me to my knees, to hurt me.
Better believe it.
So they went on they were actually sitting down kind of calm, and they just thought, well, let's just listen to some music and just kind of keep it nice and see what we can do to bring our spirits back up, and allow us an opportunity to just kind of relax a little. And so as they're listening to music, a chipper piece of music comes on, and Jim does what he normally does when he's with his group and wants to try and show off just a little bit. Stands up, starts doing a little jig. He starts dancing and laughing and joking, and he starts dancing, and he makes his way over to a side of the room that virtually no one has ever gone to since they've been there. And he steps on something, and he looks down, and it's a nail. He stepped on a nail, and he stands up and he screams when he finds out that he stepped on the nail, and he starts hobbling his way back to the group, and everyone's just thinking that it's part of the act, right? It's right. Yeah. Right. Jim's just being who he wants to be. And so as he walks back to the group, or hobbles back to the group, he sits on the couch. And as he looks to his friend Jeff and realizes that Jeff is kind of now in a motion of, let's say, oh my gosh, he's trying to be the upbeat one, trying to rest everyone, kind of calm everybody else down, saying there's nothing here, everything's going to be fine. Now it's finally starting to set on him that maybe there is something that's happening that should not have been happening with the normal gathering as a group of friends. Mm-hmm. And he steps outside, and as he steps outside, he says, give me just a minute. I just need to gather my own thoughts. He closes the door, and he starts to hear them yelling and screaming with each other. So he turns around and he walks back to get back into the house, and to the right of the door is
the board.
Only this time the board is no longer cut. It's back in one full piece.
Oh my gosh.
And he just, in total awe and amazement, looks down at the board and he goes, this is incredible, unbelievable. So he reaches down to the board, picks up the board, walks into the house, and upon noticing what he has in his hands, everyone just starts screaming. And they just don't know what to do. And they start, no, don't bring that into the house. Is it the same board? And, you can see that there had been some cuts made to the board, but they were fused back together. It's not like it had ever been cut before, but you could see that there were some etchings and marks on the board that possibly could have been the cut. Mm-hmm. And so everything's been put back together. And so Jeff says, nope, they want us to do something. We got to know that if there's something here. So he says, what I need to do is we're just going to set the board on the table. We're going to do one more. I have a question myself. And he said, I just want to know what's happening, but you guys have to be with me. So please put your hands back on the planchette. Get the planchette over here. Let's put it on the board. Let's ask it one last question. Everybody's hands are on the planchette. And Jeff says, how do we know you're here and you're real? So the planchette starts to move. First letter K, second letter N, third letter O, fourth letter C, fifth letter K. And they all looked at each other. Knock. What does that mean, knock? And so they all stood up, they let go of the planchette, and they started to walk backwards from where the planchette and the board were, and they walked towards the door with their back to the door. Mm-hmm. Simultaneously, all windows and the door started to hear a rapping noise like a.
Ooh.
They all started to scream. And so as they scream, all they did is scattered throughout the house. Shelley ran up the stairs, trying to find cover and protection from wherever she might have been. And she hid herself under some covers that were just placed on the floor. No bed, no nothing, just under covers. And as she was under the covers, she all of a sudden heard someone open the door and some footsteps walking into the room. When she just sat there, just really quiet and didn't want to make any noise, make any observation that she was under there, when she heard something starting to fall. And she realized that someone was rocking the bookcase that was just right next to her where she was laying on the floor.
Oh my gosh.
The next thing she felt was a sudden thud. Carolyn had run out the side door of the house and was just standing there by the porch looking at the house, wanting to know what was going on inside the house and who was knocking on the door, because that's the first thing she looked for. Who was in the door? Who was out on the porch, knocking on the windows, knocking on the doors?
Yeah.
And she was so scared. Her heart felt like it was pounding so hard that it was going to pop out of her chest. When she felt the tap on her shoulder and she turned around and there was no one there, but something grabbed her nose and her mouth and pushed her to the ground, which severed her neck.
What?
Now, Jeff and Jim are still in the house. Jim is going absolutely bonkers. He doesn't know what to think, what to believe. So he does the only thing he can do in his own mind. He sees the fireplace and he sees a poker, right? So he picks it up and he says, I'm just going to defend myself. Mm-hmm. Now, he and Jeff are back to back as they're walking around the house, trying to see whatever they could see. And he says, hold on a minute, Jim, just a minute. And Jeff walks real fast away from where Jim is standing, just in time for Jim to turn around and see Jeff looking out the window in a stance that is so odd that he looks at him and says, what's wrong with you, Jeff? What's wrong with you? And it's almost as though he is taken and paralyzed. And he turns around and he looks at Jim and he just smiles. Jim, as freaked out as he could be, takes the poker and makes a swing at Jeff. Jeff didn't move. And the poker caught Jeff right in the neck. And that little anvil hook caught him to where he just started to bleed. And Jeff just stood there while he was bleeding. And Jim said, oh my gosh, Jeff, I'm so sorry. And he pulled the stick the poker from Jeff's neck. And he started to walk back and he said, I am so sorry. And within minutes, Jeff's smile vanished from his face. He fell to his knees and then lunged forward to where he was just lying on the ground. Jim, on the other hand, was now panicked beyond compare. He ran out of this house, stepped down the porch, looked to his left, and there he saw Carolyn. She was gone, obviously gone. And he yells for Shelley, Shelley, where are you, Shelley? No answer, no response from Shelley at all. And we know what happened to Shelley. And so she's still upstairs in the bedroom. We don't know if she survived or not. Jim is now by himself and has no other recourse but to go back into the house. And he just gets this prompting to go back into the house, pick up the board and the planchette. He picks up both, walks out of the house, makes his way into the field when he feels a thud on his back. And he recognizes immediately that something had just pierced his back with something, and he didn't know what. And he falls forward. The board falls into a hole with just the corner sticking up from the ground, recognizing that someone else will find that board.
Oh my gosh. Carolyn got decapitated.
She didn't get decapitated.
She got her neck
broken. She got her neck broken.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, see that who knows if she survived or not. She's probably reading a book. I don't know.
She's under her covers. She's got her books around her.
Yeah, but my the thing that I like most about the story is that it takes it full circle. Because remember how Jeff found the board in the ground?
Yeah.
And then this story ends, and we shouldn't analyze it as much as we do, but then Jim, after his impromptu picking up the board on the planchette, and then following and then dropping the board where it falls into a crevice again, or someone else to find.
Yeah.
Well, Ollie, any comments on that one at all? Well, that was that. Wow.
I don't think so. I think we're just going to let coffiners sit with that.
Okay. All right. Watch for next one. Next one will drop here shortly.
Yep. Next will come out shortly, and we'll see if maybe someone takes the next step and actually gets decapitated this time.
Let me just make a note. Okay.
Palm Pilot.
Palm Pilot. Okay, yeah. No, but I love stories and telling stories, and I love to have the endings like that only because now your mind starts to reel. And you can think that.
Yeah.
Even when you were kids, all of a sudden you go, what? Yeah, and you start thinking back and you think, oh, okay, well, what just happened? So, yeah, I like stories like that where you actually have to divine. I mean, you can see where it ended, but you want to see how you would come up with an ending.
Well, coffiners will just let your mind reel for a minute until the next episode drops. But until then, we'll see you next week.
Have a spooky night. See you, coffiners. Bye.